July is almost here, and if you think brutal summer sun will wipe out your container garden, think again. Most people assume peak heat kills potted plants fast, but for certain crops, it's actually the opposite. The real secret to a thriving midsummer garden isn't shade, it's picking plants built for pure sunlight. These crops treat blazing heat like fuel instead of a threat, and that's exactly why they explode with growth. Today, we're revealing 15 container vegetables that don't just survive July, they actually need it. Stick around until the very end, because the final pick on this list might genuinely surprise you. We're covering hidden water tanks, natural sun shields, and deep desert roots, all backed by real research. If you've ever killed a container garden in July, this list is exactly what you needed to see. Every single plant here was chosen because it actively benefits from heat instead of just surviving it. Let's get straight into it, starting with a plant most people have honestly never even heard of. Number 15 kicks things off with a drought-loving vine from the hot regions of Mexico, the cucamelon. You might know it as the Mexican sour gherkin, a climbing plant loaded with hundreds of tiny fruits. Those fruits look like miniature watermelons, but they taste like cucumber with a splash of fresh lime. Regular cucumbers wilt fast in July, since their big leaves lose water faster than roots can replace it. Cucamelons dodge that problem entirely, thanks to tiny leaves that shrink the surface area exposed to sun. Less exposed surface simply means less water lost to the air, even during the hottest afternoon hours. As the season rolls on, the plant also quietly grows a thick tuber hidden deep underground. That tuber works like an emergency reserve, storing water and energy for the driest stretches of summer. It's exactly why cucamelons can survive multi-day heat waves without ever dropping a single flower. Give it a deep pot, 5 to 10 gallons works well, along with a lightweight trellis for climbing. Mix in plenty of perlite too, so the soil drains fast during sudden summer thunderstorms. This vine also grows incredibly quickly once temperatures rise, often doubling in size within weeks. The University of California Cooperative Extension backs this up, confirming cucamelons love dry, hot stress. They need almost no pruning, most pests ignore them completely, and harvest runs right up to first frost. Fun fact, cucamelons aren't some modern hybrid at all. They're an ancient heirloom the Aztecs grew long ago. They're also incredibly kid-friendly to grow, since the tiny fruits are fun to spot among the vines. Add cucamelons whole to salads or pickle jars, and they'll hold their crunch for weeks in the fridge. At number 14, we've got a plant that fools everyone who tries to grow it, the Armenian cucumber. Try growing a normal slicing cucumber in peak July heat, and stress usually floods the fruit with bitterness. The Armenian cucumber skips that entirely, mainly because it isn't technically a cucumber at all. It's actually classified as a type of ribbed melon, sharing genetics with tough desert-adapted plants. That melon lineage gives it a thick, waxy leaf coating that locks in moisture and reflects harsh UV. You'll want a solid 10-gallon pot for this one, plus a heavy trellis to support the long fruit. The fruit itself can stretch past 3 feet long, so give it something sturdy to hang on to. Keep the soil moist when you can, though its melon genes will forgive an occasional missed watering. It's also surprisingly mild in flavor, which makes it a favorite for people who find cucumbers too bitter. Texas A&M AgriLife Extension has confirmed this crop stays crisp and sweet even past 95 degrees. Fun fact, since it's genetically a melon, it won't cross-pollinate with cucumbers planted right beside it. It's a great pick if you've struggled with bitter cucumbers in past summers and want a reliable fix. Slice it thin for salads or sandwiches, since the skin stays tender even when the fruit gets large. Landing at number 13 is a vine that moves water almost like a machine, the loofah gourd. Most people only think of loofah as a dried bath sponge, completely unaware of its edible side. Harvested young and green, loofah actually tastes a lot like zucchini, popular across Asian cooking. Its real trick is an unusually wide internal water system that pumps moisture up the vine fast. That rapid movement cools the whole leafy canopy, almost like a built-in natural air conditioner. You'll need a big pot here, 15 gallons at least, plus the tallest trellis you can realistically build. Feed it often too, since those hungry roots support a vine that can stretch 20 to 30 feet long. Given enough space, loofah can quickly turn a bare patio wall into a lush, shaded green curtain. North Carolina State University notes, loofah specifically needs intense heat to trigger heavy flowering. Fun fact, during World War II, the U.S. Navy actually used dried loofah fibers as filters aboard ships. Let the fruit mature fully on the vine if you want to harvest your own natural sponges later on. For eating, just pick the pods early, while the skin is still soft and easy to peel. At number 12, we've got a desert-tough crop most people never think to grow in containers, garbanzo beans. You probably know them better as chickpeas, and honestly, they're among the lowest maintenance July crops. Touch the leaves and they feel a little sticky, thanks to tiny hairs that coat the plant in natural acids. That sticky coating keeps most pests away, while also trapping a thin, humid layer around each leaf. That humidity barrier slows down water loss significantly, even under direct midsummer sun. A 5 to 7 gallon grow bag works perfectly here, and you won't need any trellis at all. These bushy little plants also look surprisingly attractive, with fine fern-like foliage on the patio. The Food and Agriculture Organization ranks chickpeas among the most drought-tolerant legumes worldwide. They genuinely need long, hot days to properly fill out those crisp, protein-packed pods by late summer. Fun fact, the leftover liquid from chickpeas, called aquafaba, whips just like egg whites for vegan baking. They're also a great choice if you travel often, since a few missed waterings won't hurt them much. Let the pods dry fully on the plant if you want to store chickpeas for cooking later in the year. Just missing the top 10 at number 11 is a tropical vine that hoards resources underground, jicama. Also known as the Mexican yam bean, it's grown for a large tuber that's crisp like an apple. You do start the seeds in spring, but jicama really needs July's long, hot days to expand properly. During the hottest afternoons, the plant redirects nearly all its energy straight down into that tuber. The vines up top handle brutal heat just fine, since the plant already has water waiting below. Use a deep grow bag, around 15 inches, so the tuber actually has room to expand outward. Pinch off any flowers you notice, since blooming pulls energy away from the tuber you actually want. Patience really pays off here, since jicama needs a long season before that tuber is ready to harvest. USDA food. Data Central confirms jicama is loaded with inulin, a fiber good for gut health and blood sugar. Fun fact, while the tuber is totally safe to eat, every other part of this plant is actually toxic. That makes it a fascinating project crop if you enjoy watching a long payoff slowly come together. Wait for the first light frost before harvesting, since that's usually the signal it's fully ready. So, what did you think of those first 5 crops? Let us know down in the comments below. Now let's keep the momentum going and dive straight into the top 10 of today's list. Number 10 brings us a tropical powerhouse that actually loves suffocating July humidity, turmeric. Beginners often fail here by planting rhizomes too early, in cool, damp spring soil that just rots them. Turmeric comes from Southeast Asia's monsoon climate, and it genuinely needs summer heat to thrive. Those broad, deeply veined leaves work like solar panels, soaking up light to fuel root growth below. That same process also creates a humid microclimate around the plant, helping it stay cool despite the heat. Go with a wide, shallow container, at least 15 to 20 inches across, since rhizomes spread sideways. Keep the soil rich with compost, and don't let it fully dry out during the growing season. By late summer, you'll notice the plant forming a dense clump of rhizomes just beneath the surface. A single healthy container can end up producing more fresh turmeric than most households use in a year. University of Hawaii research shows curcumin levels peak when turmeric grows through long, hot summer days. Fun fact, turmeric's bright yellow pigment has dyed the robes of Buddhist monks for thousands of years. Just be careful when harvesting, since the fresh rhizomes can easily stain hands and clothing. Wear gloves when handling it, and consider using an old cutting board just for turmeric prep. At number 9, we've got a southern staple that actually thrives on hot, muggy nights, bush lima beans. Regular green beans often drop their flowers in July since hot nights can sterilize their pollen. Lima beans evolved in the heat of Central America, so warm nights are exactly what they need to set pods. Even compact bush varieties grow a deep taproot that reaches moisture other shallow roots can't find. A deep 5-gallon grow bag gives that taproot plenty of space to stretch straight down. These plants also handle humidity remarkably well, rarely showing the mildew issues other beans get. Penn State Extension calls bush lima beans one of the most dependable legumes for surviving midsummer heat. Fun fact, when caterpillars attack lima beans, the plant releases chemicals that summon predator wasps. That natural defense means you'll rarely need pesticides even during a heavy summer pest season. Harvest the pods once they feel plump and firm, well before they start to yellow or dry out. Number 8 is a fast-growing legume that basically manufactures its own fertilizer, edamame. Planting soybeans in July is genuinely smart, since they handle extreme heat far better than most crops. Special nodules on the roots host bacteria that pull nitrogen from the air and turn it into nutrients. That built-in nitrogen supply keeps the plant lush and dark green even through heavy summer watering. A wide 10-gallon container can comfortably hold several plants growing close together. Because they grow so densely, edamame plants also help shade and cool the surrounding soil naturally. University of Illinois. Extension notes edamame planted in peak summer heat matures noticeably faster. Fun fact, edamame is one of the rare plant foods considered a complete protein source for humans. Steam the pods for a few minutes and sprinkle with salt for one of the easiest summer snacks around. Harvest while the pods are still bright green and firm, before they start to yellow and dry. At number 7, classic bush beans make a comeback, but with a smart midsummer twist this time. Pole beans tend to struggle badly in peak heat, but bush varieties actually thrive when planted in July. Since the soil's already warm, seeds germinate fast, sometimes sprouting in just 3 or 4 days. Coating your seeds in a bacterial inoculant powder beforehand really supercharges early root growth. A 5-gallon pot comfortably supports 3 or 4 healthy plants through the whole season. Because they grow so fast, you can often get a full harvest before the very hottest weeks even arrive. Cornell University research shows warm July soil speeds up the entire bean growth cycle significantly. Fun fact, beans were part of the Native American Three Sisters method, naturally fertilizing the soil. This makes bush beans one of the easiest crops to succession plant right through late summer. Pick the pods often, since letting them mature fully on the plant tends to slow down new growth. Number 6 is a beloved Mexican staple that builds its own natural shade, the tomatillo. Plant tomatillos too early in cool spring weather, and they'll just sit there stunted for weeks on end. They genuinely need July's heat to trigger that fast, sprawling vine growth everyone loves to see. Their defining feature is a papery husk that wraps the fruit like a natural humidity dome. That husk protects the delicate fruit from sun scald, while trapping just enough moisture inside. Go with large 10-gallon pots for this crop, since the branches tend to sprawl out fairly wide. Here's the key thing though, plant at least 2 together, since tomatillos need a partner to pollinate. Without that second plant nearby, you'll get plenty of flowers but almost no fruit to actually harvest. University of Illinois Extension confirms paired tomatillos in warm containers produce seriously heavy yields. Fun fact, archaeologists have found tomatillo remains proving Aztec and Mayan cultivation long ago. Once the husk turns papery and starts splitting open, you'll know the fruit is finally ready. They're a must for homemade salsa verde, with a bright, tangy flavor that regular tomatoes lack. Are you enjoying this list so far? Drop a comment, and let's move straight into the top 5. Number 5 is a heat-proof swap for wilting summer greens, New Zealand spinach. Regular lettuce and spinach bolt fast and turn bitter once July's real heat starts kicking in. New Zealand spinach survives thanks to tiny water-filled bladders covering its thick, fleshy leaves. Those bladders sparkle in bright sunlight and actually reflect harsh light away from the leaf surface. An 8-inch deep pot works well here, or try a hanging basket and let the plant trail over the edges. It keeps producing tender new leaves all summer long, with almost no bitterness even in extreme heat. You can keep harvesting the outer leaves continuously without ever having to replant during the season. Cornell University confirms this spinach handles extreme heat without the bolting that ruins other greens. Fun fact, Captain Cook actually fed this exact plant to his sailors in the 1700s to help prevent scurvy. It's an easy substitute in any recipe calling for cooked spinach, with a similar mild, earthy taste. Snip the tender tips regularly, since that also encourages the plant to branch out even more. At number 4, pole beans use height to basically escape the baking heat down near the ground. Heat-tolerant heirlooms or Asian yard-long varieties tend to perform especially well in summer containers, While your patio surface bakes in the sun, temperatures actually drop noticeably just a few feet up. Climbing beans catch those cooler breezes, which also helps prevent fungal issues common in humid air below. A sturdy 10-gallon pot keeps the trellis firmly anchored against strong summer windstorms. Yard-long beans, in particular, can produce pods over a foot long once the heat really settles in. University of California research shows climbing beans use full sun exposure to fuel rapid vertical growth. Fun fact, pole beans always twine counterclockwise around a trellis, no matter where they're grown. Once they reach the top of the trellis, they'll often just keep spilling over and cascading down. Pick pods regularly while they're young and tender, before they turn tough and fibrous. Taking the third spot is a crop that treats hot soil like a starting gun, summer squash. Zucchini and yellow crookneck squash often struggle badly when planted too early in cold spring soil. Planting compact bush varieties in July skips that rough start and jumps into rapid growth instead. Since the soil is already warm, roots expand instantly, and growth happens at a genuinely fast pace. A 10 to 15-gallon container holds enough water to support those big, thirsty leaves. Within just a few weeks, one healthy plant can keep an entire household supplied with fresh squash. You'll want to check the plants daily once fruiting starts, since squash can grow surprisingly fast. Purdue University Extension notes midsummer squash often outgrows damage from destructive squash vine borers. Fun fact, squash blossoms are actually a prized delicacy, often stuffed with cheese and lightly fried. Pick the fruit while it's still small and tender, since oversized squash turns tough and seedy fast. A single healthy plant can genuinely keep you cooking with fresh squash for weeks on end. Runner-up at number 2 solves one of summer's biggest headaches, wilting, with bush cucumbers. Vining cucumbers tend to collapse in extreme heat, since water struggles to reach the top of long stems. Bush cucumbers stay compact, so water reaches the leaf canopy almost instantly with far less stress. Their roots also dive deeper into cooler soil, helping them avoid the worst of the surface heat. Harvest often too, since regular picking actually encourages the plant to keep producing more fruit. Their compact size also makes them perfect for smaller balconies where trellising isn't really an option. University of Georgia Extension confirms bush varieties survive heat waves far better than sprawling vines. Fun fact, cucumbers are about 95% water, which explains the phrase cool as a cucumber. They're also incredibly refreshing straight off the vine, chilled slightly before slicing. Check under the leaves daily, since fruit can hide easily and grow oversized if you miss a few days. And taking the top spot is the ultimate patio champion for beating summer heat, bush tomatoes. Nothing's more frustrating than watching flowers drop simply because nighttime temperatures stayed too warm. The fix is skipping tall vining tomatoes altogether and choosing heat-tolerant determinate bush varieties. Types like Solar Fire and Florida 91 were bred with heat-stable pollen that survives warm summer nights. That means almost every single flower actually has a real shot at becoming a full, juicy tomato. A 10 to 15-gallon pot supports their heavy branches just fine, no tall cages required either. These varieties also tend to ripen all their fruit around the same time, perfect for a big summer harvest. University of Florida IFAS calls heat-tolerant bush tomatoes the most reliable way to guarantee a harvest. Fun fact, even though tomatoes are technically a fruit, courts legally classified them as vegetables in 1893. It's honestly the single most satisfying crop to grow if you want guaranteed summer tomatoes. Stake the branches loosely if they get heavy, just to keep the fruit off the hot patio surface. Before you go, here's the fastest way container plants actually die in July, roots literally cooking inside pots. Dark plastic nursery pots can push internal soil temperatures past 120 degrees in direct sun. The fix is simple, just slide that plastic pot inside a bigger, heavier pot like terracotta or ceramic. That small gap of trapped air works as natural insulation, since air is a poor conductor of heat. This one trick alone can drop your soil temperature by up to 15 degrees almost instantly. It's a small change, but it can genuinely be the difference between a thriving plant and a dead one. Even moving pots to catch afternoon shade for just an hour or two can make a noticeable difference. At the end of the day, a thriving midsummer garden isn't about fighting heat, it's choosing plants built for it. Once you stop forcing cool weather plants into brutal conditions, gardening stops feeling like a battle. Try just one of these heat-loving crops this weekend and watch how fast it takes over your patio. If this helped you rethink your summer garden, go ahead and hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Let us know which of these heat-tolerant vegetables you're planning to plant this weekend. And if you want to keep your containers watered while you're away on vacation, check the next video now.